He's gonna be ready to rock.
In a minute.
Like the packets here.
In a minute. You should be good.
Anything, Mike? We've got everything you need.
Hi. Bye. Ready, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay, hi everyone, thanks for asking that. I appreciate it. This calls to order the January 27th meeting of the Sterling Board of Directors. At this time, I have to ask our secretary, Lanny, who's on the phone, if we have a forum. Lanny, there's seven of us here.
And I make eight, we have a quorum.
Okay. So, John, do we have any members speaking?
You do not.
Okay, Lanny, it's time for the secretary's report from last meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes of the December 16, 2021 minutes.
I'll second that. All approved, say aye. Aye.
I,
All right, unanimously passes. Next, Danny.
I move that we approve the minutes of the January 6, 2022 meeting.
Second that motion. All in favor? Aye.
I,
Unanimous. Thank you, Lanny. Now it's time for the president's report after me. Okay. First of all, can everybody hear me? This is the first board meeting of 2022. I'm pleased to report that at this time there are no major problems that need to be addressed, nor are there any new large projects currently active. Rather, at this point in time, our focus is on completing projects that were started in 2021. Among those are not really projects, but ongoing effort to respond the best way that we can. Never-ending pandemic. Second thing is finishing the monument improvement project. There'll be more about that. Mark's general manager's report. Finishing the construction of an additional tennis shade shelter, shade structure. We'll hear more about that in Mark's report. Adopting or seeing if we could adopt a code of conduct for board members. And we need to be moving forward, which we are because of the capable hands of Mr. Frankel, moving forward with Bluestream as a new cable internet provider. It's going to start in the fall of 2022, pending successful contract negotiations. As far as I know, things are going as expected with the contract. Last thing I want to tell you is, please note there is an election coming up for open board seats. I think we have 3.
4.
We have 4. The results of that election will be announced at the annual meeting in March. If you're interested in running, an email blast was sent to you in terms of how you do it. But if you didn't get it or deleted it, if you're interested in running, you can just contact Cezanne in the office for instructions for what you should do. Somebody refresh my memory, everyone's memory. Which board seats are up this time?
Sweetwater 1 through 5.
Sweetwater 1 through 5.
Sweetwater 6 through 9. Sanctuary Point, and an at-large seat.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that takes care the Treasury Report. Any questions, anybody? Okay. Managers report, Mark.
You should all have it in front of you. I'll try not to read the entire thing. I'll do some summarization. You can see the report once it's posted. Current projects underway. The street lights, all street lights have been completed. There's 71 of them. They are all up and lit, LED. They're on not a timer, but it's gone to dusk. It just comes out of my head. Whatever that happens. Anyways, on the monuments out front, the landscaping committee had gotten this put together, then approved at the board meeting. The two front walls out front and the one at the back. We're putting new backlit, LED backlit letters on it to replace the green ones that are there. And putting some stack stone on them as well. We had to get a permit from the county. The county did not want to allow us a permit because they felt that we were some kind of sign that was out on 41, not far enough away from the 41 boundary. So we had to go through some engineering to go back to Collier County with a boundary wall permit, not a sign permit. And now they've accepted that. And we're getting those all put together. Everything is in production, and this hopefully will take place a little later on in the year. Everything is taking a lot longer than it should. Same with the tennis court shelter. That's in production. They've received their deposit. Everything is moving forward on that. They built several of these for us, so it shouldn't be too much of a wait on that. I'm hopeful that in March we should see that up between courts 8 and 9. The guard, we board approved a new guard service. It was our friends at Tricor. Kathy was our main supervisor. I had troubles with different guards that were there in the afternoon, evenings, and late at night, not doing the job properly. Access control. I gave them plenty of time to fix. They did not. Then hired a new company called Domestic Protection Services. Stephen, who's at the front gate right now, is the supervisor. They're getting their feet wet. They've been here for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. They started on the 16th, 17th of this month. They are familiar with the TEM access system. They're trying their best. There's a lot to learn here at Sterling Oaks with all the nuances having surrounding our guest procedures. So hopefully they will help us out. And we say hi, Stephen, when you drive by. You've got a little bit of a bio here. He's grew up here in Naples and went from high school directly to serve in the U.S. military. After his service, he's been in security and healthcare. He's very helpful, very nice, well-spoken gentleman. So he should be an asset to our guardhouse. You might remember that we've been looking into the irrigation system here at the community, which most of it is groundwater irrigation out of the lakes. We have 2 pumps, but we don't have irrigation to half of Deer Creek and all essentially Point. The developer just decided not to do that for them, so they've been paying extra utility bills. So we wanted to really get an idea, do a site assessment on what we actually have in the ground, and get some answers to the health and the condition of the existing system. I can only tell you that you've been walking around, you've seen our friend Ignacio, who's been here for several years. He actually worked with Leo Juniors as well. He's digging more holes in the ground every day to fix pipes that are breaking. The pipes in the ground are 20-something years old. We think that they were put in probably in 1996, 94, even probably earlier than that when the original PUD was signed to get this place started. That's one of the first things they put underground was some of the main piping systems that are down. somewhere 60 feet below ground in some areas. And those old pipes with the water going through, wear and tear on the joints, the corners, they're just starting to blow out, and we're having leaks. And that's why sometimes some of you will go, I haven't had any water in 2 or 3 days. That's because the main line is down and you can't run the pumps. So hopefully the site assessment system, Russ Geiger from Hydrologic is doing it. We should get a report back for him, and I'll have that ready for the next board meeting. Who's just going to be looking at all the sprinklers, the irrigation system, the valves, and the piping. We should get a full report. Lakes, I did get a pond report. Lanny has it and categorized it and sent it back. It didn't get to the whole board. If you do want it, you're more than welcome to get it. It basically, the guys come out, they check dissolved oxygen at the lake levels on the top, the middle, and the bottom. They check the muck layer to see whether or not there's any muck growing down there, what the status of the clarity is, just to make sure that our ponds are healthy. You know, these lakes they serve 2 purposes. One is the irrigation, 2 is that they're part of the stormwater retention and flowway that we have, and the third is that they're an asset to our community as far as a natural environment. And lakes that are left alone, that aren't cared for, that don't have lifeguards in them, that get to have increased growth and not managed well, tend to build up muck layers and get to the point where they need to be dredged. And for those communities out there in Naples and the Southwest Florida corridor that have had to have their lakes dredged, it's in the millions and millions and millions of dollars, because it is a ecological system, and the DEA and everybody else likes to get their fingers in it. So we're very lucky to have these lakes. Paving, I'm just still gathering some bids. I'm trying to get 3 good quality bids from good quality contractors for the kind of the triangle area down here, condos, the main line that goes along the 41 fence line, back against between the dumpster to dumpster, and then back up this way towards the 1400 block and up to the main entrance. We're going to try to get those repaved, and they'll, just like everybody else has had in the condos. So we'll get that done next year. The roads in Sanctuary Point, Deer Creek, and Manatee are still in fairly good shape. We don't need to mill those right away because they don't have a lot of alligator cracking, a little bit as well. There's not a lot of damage to the roadways, potholes, or anything else like that. So we'll probably give those a year or 2 before we get into looking at those again. Then my next part is, I did get it. This is just something from Mel Parisi. Mel Parisi is basically what's going to give us a letter to read here. Remember speaking, but he's had some family issues and wasn't able to put the letter together. He just wants to let us know that he will have something for the February board meeting concerning the crosswalk up here by the clubhouse. To continue, I'm just going to go with a cable contract update that Eric has been working on. At this point, it's almost a daily or twice or 3 times a day contact with Bluestream to iron out all the little funny specifics that are involved in their contract. I can tell you that going through, ending with Comcast, going into Lightstream, and now having Summit, that you have a lot of boxes that you want checked off to make sure that we're getting what we are paying for, and that contractually they're obligated to perform those duties and give us what they say they are. So, and this has to do with service, consistency, customer service. When you call and you want somebody to come to your house and check on your system, you don't have to sit on hold for an hour and a half, and then they never call you back, or your internet goes out for 3 days and you have no understanding why. So we're working with them. Eric is doing a yeoman's job on that. We have been working with Shelley Connick, who's the attorney over in West Palm Beach, who basically is a well-renowned attorney that manages about 350 condominium and HOA communities over there, and she is known
The bulldog.
as the cable internet contract queen. And she's a mother to deal with, which is exactly what we wanted her for. We wanted a real dog on our side to keep that contract going where it is. So we are doing everything we can to make sure that when we do get the contract, that it has all of the quality, service, pricing, the stability, and the technology that we wanted. I can tell you that we've had some of their team actually go in to the condominiums, take a look at how the wiring would be achieved. They've been here on property to look at the clubhouse, how high the head end, how all the cables are currently in the house, how they work. So they have been doing a lot of their homework. You'll see in my report, this is we kind of were stalled a little bit because of the contractual issues, but Eric has been on the phone today with the president of Blue Stream, and I think has ironed out a lot of those little points that we wanted to get in there. Eric, quickly, I think that we're going to probably get to a point where we want a special board meeting specifically to approve the contract and have Jeff sign it as president.
Yes,
Sometime next week.
hopefully.
Hopefully next week. So that's just a beware from us. I would say that we probably do that on Zoom with Jeff in my office. It'll be one item only, just for the approval of the contract, which you will all get a copy of prior to. It's only going to be about 47 pages of legalese. But we know that it's been gone through by the attorney, which is excellent. I think that's it for you.
First of all, any questions from Mark? Yes.
Yeah, how are we doing on the tennis maintenance person? Have we gotten any information as far as that goes yet?
Well, I can only say that we put the feelers out to all of the rows in the area. We put it on Indeed. We have sent it out to the network of individuals that we know. We've gotten a few, let's say, reasonable individuals, and I think we've interviewed one or two. And I think the Cezanne and Paul Barris are at a point where they're probably going to be making some form of decision soon. The availability of qualified help for any position seems to be woefully inadequate and difficult to find. We've had an ad for server bartenders, and we've had 57 applicants. We called them all. None have returned their calls. The maintenance, we had maintenance, Zach left us, so we hired a new maintenance guy. It took us almost 50 applicants. We had 3 respond. We finally found one guy who was well qualified, and we're able to grab him, and he's on board right now. You might see him wandering around. His name is Randy White. Not to confuse the guy that writes the novels. So we're hopeful to find somebody soon, Jerry. But you know, it's evident.
Yeah, it's a difficult position.
Okay, just back up 1 second. For those of you
I have a
that.
question, Kate. Please.
Okay.
Actually, it's more a suggestion, if I may. You were talking about hiring a mama bear to deal with the legalese with the internet providers and TV cable company. I was here for all 3 presentations, and everybody talks about how they promised 1 gig, but they tell us directly that they don't expect more than 700 or 800 meg. I would suggest that we put down the number that they promise in the contract so they can be held accountable for it.
Let me do this. First of all, it's when we don't, I don't want to shut you off. We don't usually respond to questions like this. Let me make a suggestion to you. Eric is sitting right next to you. You know Eric Frankel?
No.
He's our
Cable project team.
cable project team guru. And if you've got something, suggest that's the person suggested.
Thanks for pointing that out. I don't know, Eric. I'm here for.
There he is.
It's right here.
Thank
I
you.
understand now. Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, one more question. Mark,
well, I'll let this go.
thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, just real quick, Mark, you had mentioned the two front walls. Could you clarify what that is going to be exactly, the new two front walls, and what the cost is?
But
The two front walls,
Right,
yeah, currently, the ones where you're driving off 41, they say sterling oaks.
right,
We're replacing those with sterling oaks. Black letters, not green. It's gonna be, instead of just the cement blocks on the end corners, there's gonna be stacked stone on that, on those two corners of each of the walls. And that's it.
okay, and more lighting?
The lighting will be behind it's actually channel letters with lighting behind it, so it'll be illuminated from behind the letters.
Mhm.
So each of the letters will have a channel like this, there'll be LED strips behind it,
Okay,
so it'll shine onto the wall and it'll illuminate.
yeah. And what's the cost on that?
Cost, I think, was totally, for all, just two signs and the back signs, I think, $46,000.
So how did we okay that? Is everybody okay with that?
The board
The
approved it.
board,
Yep,
do
that
we
comes
have
out
a
tomorrow.
number that maybe should be looked into a little bit more
We,
than just?
we approved it. It was after
That was,
extensive look at costs and options and.
Well, the treasurer said it was not economically
I'm not
reasonable.
entertaining any more questions.
Oh, that's great, that's nice.
All right.
I
I've
guess
got-
that's the way this is gonna be this year in 2022. No input by the residents who are putting the
That's
bill.
just the way board meetings work. man.
Oh.
If you have a problem, give me a call. My name's in the phone book. Okay?
Excuse me?
If you have a problem, call me. My name is Chap Palucci. I'm in the,
The
Director.
treasurer himself said this was not economically fiscally reasonable.
we're not gonna
If
rehash.
that's
this.
a November
We're not
meeting.
gonna rehash this.
Oh,
The board passed it, that's it. All right.
wow.
Done.
Okay, you
The,
guys are up with it.
For those of you that
Really?
might be, this is just an FYI, for those of you, particularly in the condos, I think you'd be pleased to know that none of your associations were involved in this fraud that you might have read about in the paper. So you can breathe a sigh of relief there. Plus, I believe your associations are pretty well insured for malfeasance. But anyway, you got nothing to worry about right now. Okay, moving on to the treasurer's report. I don't know if we have one because our latest data, because it's the end of the year, isn't in yet. John?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have much to report. The preliminary just came in, so we're looking at it. But our cash positions remain strong at over $2 million. And our variance to budget remains strong and favorable, and we should be in the neighborhood of the $400,000 that we talked about last month. With that strong 21 number, as you all know, hopefully we use 100,000 that reduce everyone's assessments this year. And if we keep strong for 2022, we hope to be able to do the same thing next year without raising our assessments up and down. It's the best fiscally thing to do for our community. So next month, hopefully we'll have the final number and be able to report exactly what we had at year end. But as right now, we remain strong. That's all I have.
Okay, I want to backtrack 1 second and we'll move on. Responding to woman that was trying to ask questions. Every board meeting, there's members speaking opportunity. So if you want to take advantage of that in the future, that's the place to do it.
It's a little too late, isn't it?
What's the- I'm just giving you information. Okay. Now we're on to Lanny, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Lanny, Dr. Wheeler is going to give us a COVID update. So Lanny?
Yes. This includes data that Florida published last Friday. The good news is the current surge may be peaking. Tomorrow's data will be important to know if that's actually the case. New treatment drugs are becoming available, but of course they must be taken soon after symptoms appear, and they may not be available for everyone. Fully vaccinated people still have a lower risk of getting infected and becoming seriously ill or dying. Prevention remains better than treatment. Our local hospitals are busy, but they're not overwhelmed with COVID-19 cases. Home test kits are more available, and there's good evidence that high quality N95 or KN95 masks reduce transmission more than cloth masks. The bad news is that new cases and positivity rates remain extremely high in both Collier and Lee counties. Unvaccinated people are at extreme risk of developing infection. CDC, of course, recommends that everyone wear a mask in indoor public settings. The other bad news is deaths are increasing, which is generally expected after a surge in cases. We've had a number of cases here within the community, and at least one Sterling Oaks member has been in the ICU due to COVID. I don't know if she's out yet or not. Positivity rates are, as I said, extremely high. They're much higher than they were last summer when, we thought we were at the worst. But I'm certainly hoping that next week would be better. Bottom line is that I recommend we continue our current COVID management plan.
Thank you, Lanny. That's good. Glad we can go through this board meeting without a change.
One thing, Lanny, you might have missed. Unfortunately, the FDA shut down the treatment centers with the infusion, the monoclonal, for several of them in Naples. So if you got COVID-19, we're going to try to prevent going to hospitalization. You could go to one of these local ones and get that infusion treatment. The FDA has decided it's not effective, and they shut them down. I don't know if you have to say that.
Brownie, to clarify, they did not shut down the centers. They just stopped the use of ineffective drugs. There is an infusion treatment that is effective for the Omicron variant, and that is allowed to be used. So FDA does not control things like those centers. It just controls whether or not they approve the drugs, and the two drugs that are not effective are no longer approved, but the infusion that is effective is still approved.
Infusions in those centers are no longer there. The other infusion
Well, that-
is only done in
Well,
hospitalization.
Yeah, that's up to then,
You have to go to the
Florida,
hospital.
whether
So
they
as far
want
as
to
getting the infusion
give the other
treatment-
medicine, but that's not FDA.
But let me finish. The FDA, in order to get the infusion at those centers, you no longer can get that monoclonal, or whatever it's called, infusion. There is a regeneration, but that's only allowed in the hospital. Okay? The FDA was the one who made that decision that the drug is no longer effective, which is a lot of disagreement.
Just to clarify, there is no disagreement in the medical community as to whether or not that drug is effective. The drug manufacturers themselves are quite sure that it's not effective. So that is misinformation that there's medical disagreement about that.
Well, again, there are thousands of doctors in this country. I have seen many who think it is effective and have talked to some who think it's effective. So the medical community does not have complete agreement on anything. As you know.
Well, is the bottom line that the centers that are open might not be providing
They're not
what
providing
people
them.
thought they were.
They're not providing that monocle infusion that you used to be able to go and get before hospitalization.
Okay, is there any disagreement with that, Lanny?
Well, whether, it's not an FDA thing is my point.
Okay,
Florida has decided to close those centers. They could be used to give out the pills, that are effective and that sort of thing. Florida has closed those centers. All that the FDA has done is, rescinded an emergency approval for drugs that were good for Delta. They're no longer approved because they don't work for Omicron.
Lanny, Florida closed those down because the FDA required the quit giving the infusion. Florida did not do that. Matter of fact, I saw Governor DeSantis very much against it, and the state of Florida public health director very much against it because they don't think our state health director thinks they are effective. So that shutdown was done by the FDA on those particular infusions.
the message to the community is if you think you're going to go to one of these centers for treatment, you better contact them so you know what you're getting, what you're going to get. That's the message. Okay, let's move on. We'll move on to committee reports. Mark's going to do activities.
Lynn, with the activities committee, gave me this report. The goal of the activities committee this year was to attract new people and to design new activities. And even with COVID restrictions, we've done just that. Many activities were held outside, but some have been postponed. January has seen so far a trivia night held by the pool, a book club held on the veranda, and the beginning of a new concert series held out on the lawn. 116 people bought the entire concert series of 4, and our first concert, Little Eddie and the Fat Fingers with a barbecue food truck, held on January 16th, 18th, went very well. The band did 3 encores. Concert series will feature different types of music from blues to rock, and all will be held outside. Second concert, scheduled for February 1st, will feature the music of Elton John and Billy Joel. This group was asked back by popular demand. A separate jazz concert featuring a group from FGCU has been rescheduled for April. Girls' Night Out event, a quarter auction, was postponed until February 23rd. It'll come with a set of instructions for participation, and we know it'll be lots of fun. Friday night dinners, which had scheduled entertainment, will be held outside by the pool cabana. Please pre-order as asked. On Saturday, January 8th, there was music at the pool beginning at 12:30, and another opportunity for the same experience to be held Saturday, February 5th. The next book club will be February 8th, and the book will be The Lincoln Highway by Amor Tolles. Please know that whatever the climate, inside or out, the activity committee is dedicated to bringing Sterling Oaks some fun choices and opportunities.
Thank you. I'd just like to observe that in spite of all the problems we have with this ridiculous pandemic, our participation in our events has been really good. They've all been done really safely. So good going, everybody. So, yes.
I don't know if this falls under activities or communication, but I thought we were gonna have a new homeowners party to get them acclimated with what's going on in the community. Someone give an update on that?
Yeah, I spoke to Lauren about it a little while ago. They postponed it due to the COVID situation to be rescheduled, John, hopefully in February or early March. If not, they probably won't do it. By then it'll be too late.
I thought we should have it sooner or later, because the season will be over.
Well, that's what the activities committee, I think, is on that. And it's something that I'm not sure exactly when it's going to schedule it. But it was preempted because of COVID.
Okay. Thank you. Then we'll move on to tennis. Brownie.
Last down a handout, committee met last week. Membership is still very high, 382, about as high as it's ever been. 363 of the sterling and 19 of votes. 363 is the report numbers plus less people who can play anything. Okay? About 33% are all. So there was an issue about our courts, should we cap the membership, our courts getting too busy. So actually, I went through this week's prime time court availability. I found out really, and the committee also agreed, and Paul agrees, at this point, we do not have a problem with being too many members and courts are still available, but we don't want it. Then going through the data, a detailed analysis showed that this week, Sunday through Saturday, prime time, 8 o'clock, 9:30, 11 o'clock, 75% of the courts were booked. Well, also, I looked at it by day, and it turns out that my advice to tennis players, Monday is really a busy day. We're up around 97%, there was really only one court available. However, on Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, we're down around 70, 65, and even Wednesday and Friday are around 85%. So we're still in good shape. There's plenty of courts still available at one of those prime times, but all will be monitoring it, and I'll be monitoring it also very closely. But do understand what happens, Chelsea, our program takes care of itself. If you suddenly got to Monday, good example, there's only one court available. There could be somebody who doesn't get a court on Monday at one of those times. But those people will be the ones who are probably playing 5, 6, or 7 times that week. We do have a small percentage of the members that play 5, 6, or 7 times every week. And if you do get overbooked, what will happen is, because the way Chelsea keeps track of who's been playing, they would be the groups that would actually get pushed forward anyway. So it still would be a fair procedure. But the main point is you happen to play on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, you might want to consider playing Tuesday and Thursday instead. Any questions?
No, it's good to have the membership where it is and have minimal problems with availability.
Just a comment, the problem with this whole project about monitoring the amount of people to get, the more members we get, the better it is for the club. But there's a balance to be struck. And the whole key is to make sure that a major portion of the people get a chance to play as many times as they can during prime time. And as long as that stays in place, we're okay. When it runs over that, then it's a time to cap. We really don't want to cap because we lose members on an occasional basis anyway, so then they're replenished by new members coming in. If we cap them, then we got a problem. We don't want to do that unless we absolutely have to.
And this week, there was no day that somebody didn't get a phone call.
Okay, let's move on to Baji. Ken Swan has a report on Baji. Actually, the numbers are going to report are astounding. The number of people.
Like we had a wine and cheese event on January 4th, and we had 70 people. And a lot of them were just on the bocce. We had a bocce 101 and 27 people who never played bocce before we showed up at that. And then we have right now 165 people who must play in the Intercontinental Club League. We accepted 160 of them. We have 3 of them on the wait list. We have 80 people on Tuesdays and 8 people on Thursdays playing. So our previous high was in 2018, and that was 156 people. Last year, we only had 92, but that was because of COVID. Really important. Pickleball, it seems like sports are always busy. You drive by and there's people waiting to play pickleball.
So,
Numbers on how many are playing.
observation is pretty good. I have to say an observation. Every time I go by there, the courts are full and there's people standing waiting to play. So it's a good thing we built the third one.
About 4.
Okay, thank you. And, all right, moving right along, our next agenda item is the code of ethics for the board that you all have in your packet. At this point, I guess we're one of the few clubs that doesn't have code of ethics for the board, or code of conduct for the board. And for that, and maybe another reason is too, it was decided by the board to develop a code of conduct. It's in front of you. I move that we vote to adopt it. Somebody seconds that, we can discuss it.
Second.
All right. Well, let's discuss it. Go ahead.
Okay. The first point is the board approved that we develop a code of ethics. Code of ethics and code of conduct are not the same. Ethics are things that are really we consider wrong in our society, but not illegal. Conduct could be anything. So one of the problems I see is we've gone from supposedly agreeing to have an ethics code, the code of conduct. And there's several things in this code of conduct that have nothing to do with ethics. So that's my first point. This is not what the board approved. We approved to develop a code of ethics, not conduct. Okay? Certainly, there's items on this list that are not unethical. Someone just decided they didn't like it. And obviously, as I pointed out before, the members of the board voted that right. But the third time, the big project got voted down. So now they want to squelch board members from being able to influence members if they want to. And actually, there's a number of issues, elections, special assessments, changing bylaws, recalls, which the board doesn't make those decisions anyway. And the board of directors, just because you're on the board of directors, you still have a right to express your opinion on those things that do come up, just like any other member. So I certainly do not plan on voting for this code of conduct. Plus, I do not feel like it fulfills what the board approved, board of ethics. I don't think some of these things you could justify as unethical.
Mike?
Most of these items in this code of conduct came from other organizations throughout the state of Florida. There's nothing unusual. Our lawyer, Jason.
Mike, can you be closer to the mic?
Sure.
Dude, that's just down.
Hold on one.
Thank you.
Okay, I was saying that our lawyer, Jason, reviewed this. He had no problem with it except for the one change that we made, which was number 8 in the first section. And what else can we say? The fine line between the two words, code of ethics and code
It's
of
not a
conduct.
fine line. it's
Hold
very
on,
clear.
hold on.
Let him finish.
Ronnie, let Mike finish.
But
please.
it's-
Mike
Board
has
of
the floor.
ethics and
Mike has
conduct.
the floor. You have your opportunity again.
But you just addressed me and basically said.
Let us know when you're finished, Mike.
Okay.
You addressed me directly.
What I'm saying is that there's a fine line, very fine line, between code of ethics and code of conduct. And these items in this code of conduct was come from a long list of approved code of conduct or ethics from many other organizations within Florida. And has been approved by our lawyers to be effective and
I'd like to see a written thing from Jason, that this is a proper code of ethics, that this is ethics, not conduct. I think that's a big difference. I could have a conduct that you can't wear a green shirt to the meeting. That's conduct. Anything can be conduct. Ethics only pertains to things that we as a society agree are not proper. This happened to the meeting. So there is not a line. There's a very distinct difference in conduct and ethics.
Well, I was a math major, so I don't know.
Well, I'm actually a science and math major.
Look, we can go on. Just let me say this. Whether it's conduct or ethics, and I don't want to get into that debate. This is a guideline for behavior. And if a board member does not want to sign this and accept it, they don't have to.
That's, and Jason said that.
And furthermore, if we think, if the board somehow or other thinks that a member has violated one of these points, there's not much we can do. This is more symbolic, I think.
Let me read what Jason said. He said, there's nothing in the code of conduct that is a violation of law of your governing documents. However, there is one enforcement with legal means, but there's censure and public reprimand. There's nothing we can do to force it directly to sign it if they refuse. Period. Okay. Most of this common sense should not cause the censure. And the only provision someone might ask is the one we talked about, number 8. No, we changed that.
Number 8 is.
Number eight on the first section, not number 8 on the second section.
Well, I've got the one that's in the package today. I still don't agree with number 8.
Well, that's number, yes. But Jason had no problem with number 8 on the second section, second provision.
Those of you who don't know, Jason's.
The one I've got in the package is number 8 is the one that's about contacting members about your opinion.
Jason had no problem with that one.
But it's not very proper conduct. Does he understand freedom of speech? We have a constitution that guarantees free speech.
This is a recommendation. And
Yeah, I can understand where we're headed here. We're simply going to decide that we think that there is a code of conduct that we would like to have people be responsible for. If you choose not to be responsible for it, and you can choose to do something else, you certainly have the ability to do so. And the only thing that the board can do is we can say that's a bad thing. That's about all we can do. So it's not as big deal as it should be. That's right.
Are there any other comments?
Well, specifically, I'll make a motion that we eliminate number 8 under the second section. Under the second, just so that's clear. That says you shall not send direct mass mail, email, phone, or text messages to homeowners to convey personal opinions about board issues. Made a motion to eliminate that. The second? So everyone here, everyone feels like you're going to give up your right to free speech.
No, it's not too good, right? Free speech is what you should do and what you can do. So
It's free, it's
raise your mind, free speech, Brian, so no one second, so let's go to
Okay,
vote.
that's fine. And just on the record, I do not intend on, what I do intend, I will sign this with certain ones crossed out.
It's up to you. That's fine.
That's one way you can handle it. If you don't agree with one of them, you can cross it out, additional it, and then sign.
Fine.
I mean, 90% of them, I agree. I mean, they're ethics, okay, they're right. But some of these are not ethics. There's someone, people are upset because 3 times I helped defeat the major project because I sent out mass mails and let people know both sides of the story.
You're gonna hear more about,
And you try to eliminate us from looking, if you don't agree with something, you still have the right to express an opinion.
you're gonna hear more about what you did with, with the fantastic. When we get the discussion on the A1, okay? All right, we have an amendment.
John has a comment.
Hey, Ronnie, I am not against this because you want to do those things 3 times. It has nothing to do with it. I'm against somebody like you or sending out mass mailings to everybody. I told you 2 different times by email, we did 5 years ago, or whenever it was, last time. I don't want to get stuff from you, just like I don't want to get other junk in. This is gonna prevent that. And it won't, well, it should.
All right, we have an amendment that was
It's defeated.
defeated and a
Back to the main
motion
motion.
on the table to approve this code of conduct. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Carries 7-1. Thank you. Now we're going to go on to new business. I hope you all got, since we cut out the agenda, there's been a few things that have come up that one we have to deal with, and the other 2 are just FYI, so action is required. The one that needs a vote is I'm asking the board to approve putting on the ballot for the annual meeting the elimination of action without a meeting from our bylaws. First of all, why does it have to go on the ballot? Because any change to the bylaws requires a vote of the members. Other than that, why do I recommend that we do this? It's not necessary to have this item in our bylaws, given our current technology. This was probably put into our bylaws 25 years ago, and most of us were still using landlines. We've come a long way since then. Second reason, probably the most important one, it's been abused in the past. And I think we need to make sure that never happens again. And it was only through the effort of Browning that abuse didn't happen. We all know what we're talking about here. And we should be quite a bit indebted to Browning for what he did. What was that, 6 years ago, 5 years ago?
Many years.
Third reason is during my tenure as president, it's never been successfully used. What I mean is occasionally I decide, well, this isn't a big deal, let's just do it. And try an action without a meeting, and I get called on it. And we wind up having a meeting anyway. So it's just kind of a waste of time. Finally, some of you might say, well, what happens if we have a dire emergency around here? Like the place blows up and the roof blows off and goes down to the floor. Well, our lawyer has determined that the president has broad power to deal with any dire emergency without consulting the board, and that is either not feasible or just can't wait. That would be an example of something that can't wait. And for those reasons, I think I'm asking the board to approve that we put on the ballot for the annual meeting, the elimination of action without a meeting from our bylaws. I think it's section 2.14 in our bylaws. Yeah.
That's second, making a motion there. That's second.
So I make that motion.
That's second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah.
Yes.
The reason that it's necessary is because as it stands now, in the bylaws, it actually is against Florida statute anyway. So it's improper to be using it. So therefore, we're simply moving it out of the bylaws so that we can be consistent with Florida statute. That's why we're doing this.
Okay, so that's an endorsement.
Jeff, I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I asked by email and did not get a response. I know that, a couple of years ago, Jason clarified this question and, put in writing that, our action without a meeting are actually not against Florida statute. And he recommended that we keep it. I've asked what his current recommendation is and to see if that has changed. And I have not gotten a response on that. I personally disagree that this has been used inappropriately in the 5 years that I've been on the board. I think that it has been used quite appropriately on a couple of occasions. And I don't think we should remove it if our lawyer thinks that Brownie's opinion is incorrect.
Well, I don't want to pick a fight with you, but I just don't see any need for this. I don't care if it's a violation of Florida statute or not. My recommendation, which counts as much as Jason, is that we don't need it. We should eliminate it. Because I just don't want to take the chance that we pass on a part of our bylaw that is potentially prone to abuse. All I'm trying to do. Now, if we don't want to do it, we don't want to do it. John Meehan?
Yeah, all we're doing is saying we want to go out onto the community for a vote.
Right.
So what's the difference? If the community comes back and says, no, we want it kept in the bylaws, then it's going to stay. If they say, no, we agree, it's no longer useful, then we get rid of it. So I don't know why we're arguing about it. The community is going to make the decision.
Is there any more
Well,
comments?
but they'll only make the decision if we recommend to do it.
Not
I would
necessarily.
just point out that other presidents think, other past presidents think that it's a valuable tool, and I'm not sure that we want to change the bylaws just because one board thinks something, without advice from our lawyer.
Funny, the advice from the lawyer is, if we want to do this, it has to go to the community for a vote. I don't see what other advice we need.
The advice that I'm asking about is Brownie's statement and Terry's that it's against Florida statute. Previously, Jason put in writing that that's not correct, that it's not against Florida statute. And so I hate to see us pass something because of misinformation.
Well, let's just,
If indeed it is not against Florida statute, then I think that we have much less reason to do so.
well, if it's not against Florida, frankly, I don't care personally if this current A1 is against or within Florida statutes. My point is simply, once again, it is an unnecessary bylaw that has potential abuse implications, and I want to get rid of it. It's not like a big deal. I'd like the community to have the chance to get rid of it. Yeah.
Understand and challenge any member to go in or read the Florida statute. The intent of the Florida statute is that any action that a community board takes is transparent and an open meeting, just like you're here today. The reason that there is no allowance to have an action without a meeting that is publicized 48 hours apart that members can attend. So you can argue all day long about interpretation. Read it, but the intent is this. You know, the way it's set up right now, if we wanted to use this action without a meeting, the board could go out and sort of $100,000 project just by using the action without a meeting, and the membership would even not have the opportunity to know it was even going on. So it's all about transparency. The intent of the statute, and that's the way we read the statute. So I agree with, I'm not going to argue with the lawyer, but if you want the board to be transparent in whatever we do, then you should get rid of this.
We're dealing with this 2.14 that is not sent out. But 2.14 is dealing with the community, not with the board.
Not the right section.
No.
Points
So that's,
for the-
it says the community has the vote.
Yeah, the community has to build the bylaw.
Yeah.
No, that's what the bylaw says.
Right, so we're asking the.
So
We're asking the community to vote on it. Essentially, and
Not this one.
Suzanne, what's the section that we're trying?
I think he's referencing that in the action without a meeting, it uses the word members, and within the bylaws, that section of 2 of the bylaws, it's referencing the board of directors members. Is that what you're referencing, Ken?
This is within the member, this member is a board member. You think you gotta look at the section it's in. Understand?
Okay.
It's in a section about board of directors. It's not in a section about the membership.
Well, this is a meeting that may be taken without a meeting, and they have 60 days to vote on it.
Correct. This is for the
So how can the board have 60 days to vote on it?
It's not, the only way that they change the bylaws or declarations or any of the amendments that we've had in the past can move from the floor to the annual meeting ballot is through the board of directors. So the board has to at least say, we need to move this to vote. In other words, you can't just have you can't have just a change to the declaration appear out of nowhere on a ballot that the board hasn't had any chance to look at. You know, because just some person decided, we're gonna change the way things are done around here. It takes the board to review the actual change to the amendment, which we've done several. The boards put several of those over the past so many years to change to mailboxes, to change several other items within the declaration and bylaws. Removing 6.1, all of the neighborhood representatives, for instance, was an amendment. But it had to go through the board and be referred, get the attorney to agree to write the specific language, and then go to the ballot on the annual meeting where the membership as a whole, the residents, the owners can vote on that change.
Oh, I was just thinking, it's for the technology changes, never that today. It's not a problem, but it's like, yeah, but in a matter of how. You know, so there's no reason.
Please get closer to the mic.
He was just saying, Michael was just saying that in today's technology, that if there needed to be a meeting of the board, it could be arranged in a few hours, you know, through the technology that we have available to us these days.
Be careful, the statute
But the
doesn't.
point about that is that doesn't have the 48-hour notice. It's exactly those kinds of meetings that would be officially done as an action without a meeting. It's a meeting, but it wouldn't be an official 48-hour notice meeting. And that's so that the technology really doesn't change the need for this. Because if we don't get 48 hours, then it's not an official meeting.
That's a good point.
Well, you got it, for 48 hours. unless it's a dire emergency, the roof blew off.
You can give 48-hour notice and special meeting, and you're good. So you have to do something, you do it yourself. Let's vote on it.
All right, well, I'm gonna put this up for a vote. Now, remember what we're voting on is a motion to include eliminating the A1 session on the ballot. For the annual meeting. That's what we're voting on.
They're saying 2.14.
Yes,
That's the A1 section?
Yeah.
2.14.
So we're using that section to root, you're getting confused with how we remove it. That pertains to how we remove it. That's not what.
All right, is there any other discussion? All in favor? Well, I assume Lanny's a no.
Lanny, we're calling for the question.
Right. I vote nay.
All right, we have 6 in favor, 2 nays. So the motion passes.
If you need to tell Lanny who the other no is, but she must.
The other no is Ken. Okay? All right, there are 2 other things I want to just tell you. Neither one requires any action on our part. Collier County has a new ordinance for the reporting of rental property. We can't deal with this now because it's too confusing. It's being studied by Mark Cezanne, Laura, and Jason, who will recommend how we deal with it at the next board meeting. No action required today. The final issue, again, no action is required, is it is not clear, although it's clear in the bylaws, it's not clear that who deals with requests from homeowners to have trees removed from common areas. Per our bylaws, it is the responsibility of the landscaping committee to deal with these requests, not the ASC. So what this means is all future requests, and one current request that we have for the removal of a common area tree would be decided on by the landscaping committee, not the ASC. And for the landscaping committee's edification, there's also a section in our bylaws that need to be adhered to by the landscaping committee. Believe it or not, we have a bylaw that says if the landscaping committee recommends that a tree be removed, it has to be approved by the board. Wow. Yeah, that's probably good, because we might have a runaway landscape committee, I don't know. So I don't think any action is required. Our bylaws tell us how to deal with this issue. There is a current issue and there will be future issues. And it's up to the landscaping committee to deal with.
Jeff, my question is, are we gonna develop a whole new system for people to submit a request to do this? Because right now, there's no system for anyone, there's no forms on the website, there's no guidance on how the decision's made, any of that.
Well, go ahead, Suzanne.
we have a tree removal request form, so if that comes across my desk for the modification and it's in a common area, I'll give it to Mark so he can address it to the landscaping committee, just as this one just has.
So should we put that form on the website?
It's been on the website for over a year.
It's on the website.
Right. Right, now I know that form, but it has been submitted, the instructions are to submit it to the ASC. But as long as it's gonna get passed on, then that's okay, but it just hasn't been ever before.
There's never been a request ever before done, other than this one that I turned over this week.
This is the case of anytime that we've had a tree that's diseased, hit by lightning, causing damage, safety issues, There's never been an issue with working on those trees in common areas as they affect a homeowner. In the current case, we have a request to remove a perfectly healthy, good tree that doesn't do anything except for its roots are going into that person's yard. And by law, under state statute, the homeowner is responsible for root barrier or any other modifications to their yard to stop the tree's roots, but it does not preclude taking out the tree. So in this case, this is why it got moved to research to find out that the landscaping committee, upon their discussion, if they want approval for it, has to go back to the board, and then the board will do it. The next question, of course, that will arise is who's responsible for paying for the removal of the tree, even though it's on common area, but a homeowner is requesting it for their own personal needs.
Well, we'll cross that bridge.
Cross that bridge when we get there.
I'll never get there.
Just to clarify, not for community, for private property, does that request go to the ASC or the landscaping?
If it's on a lot, it goes to the SC.
Okay, so if you're, don't be confused, if your homeowner intrudes on your property, you still go to the ASC.
Right.
So, wanted to clarify. This is only if you want something removed off the community.
Yes, this is for when a homeowner, when something's done about a tree that's on common
Yeah.
property. That is a landscaping. Is there anything else to discuss today? With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move it.
For a second. We're adjourned. Oh, take a vote.